The retail edition of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming on the 29th of July 2022. Many players are eagerly awaiting this game, and so am I. If you have not played a Xenoblade Chronicles game before, prepare yourself for a very long game, with multiple layered combat and tutorial messages that can pop up 40 plus hours into the game. With all the excitement about the new game, I started to think about what features I would like to change in the sequel in comparison to the second game in the series. In my opinion, these games are really fun, but patience is necessary, as they generally take time for the story, characters, gameplay, and world to develop. This will be the fourth title in Monolith Soft's series for the Nintendo Switch. So far, we have seen Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna, which was an expansion pack, but it had a retail release with over 20 hours of gameplay, and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Unfortunately, no sign of Xenoblade Chronicles X coming to Switch, even though there are a lot of us waiting for it, including me. I really thought we would get Xenoblade Chronicles X before another sequel, but hey, here we are. Come on, Nintendo, give us Xenoblade Chronicles X on Switch. Hopefully the third mainline game in the series will be an improvement on the second, especially for the Blade character's core crystal feature. Before we get into that, hello everyone, welcome to the QuesterMage, Mage's Quest to talk about games. In today's video, I want to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and a feature that in my opinion needs changing, which are the core crystals. If you're one of the 100 plus subscribers on the channel so far, thank you very much. It's literally the only way this channel can grow. If you like our content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Let's talk about the Blade characters. The Blades are characters in the game and are essentially a support class for the main characters or drivers in combat. Each have individual skills or arts which the driver can use in combat to attack enemies. Each type of Blade also wields their own weapon. The driver's weapon is dependent on which Blade type is equipped. If the Blade is a sword user, so is the driver. They also sport a number of skills which can be used in the open world to unlock treasure, hidden areas, and traverse previously blocked areas. As you can see here, there are a lot of skills to unlock per blade. The amount of skills does differ depending on the type of blade you have. When a blade falls, they return to a core crystal, and their memory being wiped in the process. These core crystals can be awakened again by drivers. Each time a driver awakens or bonds with a core crystal, you will see a cutscene. Thankfully you can skip these, and you will be rewarded with a blade. In Xenoblade Chronicles 2, there are 3 crystal types that I found: common, rare, and legendary. The blade core crystals are kind of like gotcha machine capsules. You open up each crystal and you hope you get a rare blade. I collected hundreds of common crystals throughout the game, and like everyone else was hoping to get a rare blade from time to time. When opening each crystal, you also can add boosters to these, which you can see again on screen, but they seem to do, well, nothing, at least that I can see. The issue that I had was I assumed, wrongly, that the game would eventually allow players to increase the probability of getting a rare blade, maybe by adding items to this process or having skills that can be upgraded to improve this. It didn't. 100 plus hours into the game, I find myself with a lot of crystals. But you just find more rare crystals than legendary crystals, you say. Yeah, I thought this too. I kept on using core crystals and leaving the better ones in my inventory, because games give you shiny things to look at which you should keep, collect, and rarely use. Eventually I did start using rare crystals. Surely you'll get a better chance of getting a rare blade, as the name suggests. Well, I didn't get one. I tried again, nope, still getting a common blade. Eventually I did get a rare blade, but it seemed very heavily based on luck, which made this process feel a little bit like a chore after a while and needlessly long-winded. Nowhere in the game is there any percentage or probability, statistic, or meter for getting a better blade. This mechanic is too heavily reliant on luck. Hopefully in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, if this feature does come across, it will be an updated one. For me, I'd like to see the following. Firstly, probabilities or percentages. Each core crystal needs to have clear probabilities or percentages which the player can see. Also, a new crystal type would be nice, and I would have that be uncommon. So for me, it would be common, uncommon, rare, and legendary crystals. Each one having 4 tiers of percentages of probability. So if we start with common crystals, you'd have a 94% of getting a common, a 5% of getting an uncommon, 1% of getting a rare, and 0% getting a legendary. Moving on to uncommon, that will be 7% for common, 90% for uncommon, 2% for rare, 1% for legendary. Rares would be 3% for common, 15% for uncommon, 80% for rare, and 2% for legendary. Legendary crystals should have a 0% chance of getting a common, a 0% chance of getting an uncommon, 45% chance of getting a rare, and 55% chance of getting a legendary. Phew. This, for me, would make this a more balanced crystal mechanic. The rare and legendary crystals should be hard to come by, but still obtainable in the open world, so when the player finishes the game, they can continue to collect these crystals to complete their blade collection. Secondly, boosters. If you have items which boost, or at least that's what the name seems to suggest, the opening of a core crystal, make these mean or do something more substantial, or at least inform the player what these items do and not have just random names for each type. I would like these items to be reworked into something like core resonators. This item would resonate, as the name suggests, with the core crystal, giving you an increased chance of getting a specific blade type. For me, I'd like to see 4 types of resonators: an elemental, a weapon, a rare, and legendary resonator. Each time the player wants to awaken or bond with a core crystal, they can use 1 or 2 of these to increase the probability of getting that type of blade. While not taking away the luck element, this would feel more like increasing the odds in the player's favor. They can even lock rare and legendary core resonators behind a level cap so that players cannot get certain blades at the start of the game. Lastly, blade swapping. In Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I wasn't a fan of the blades being locked to each driver. The problem was that as blades were only down to luck, I found myself going through blade crystals, and when I got a rare blade, sometimes I'd want to move that blade to another driver. There are in-game items that allow you to do this, but they're really hard to find, and I think there's a limit to how many of these are in the game. I'm not sure. For me, the blade bonding should be able to be started by any driver, and when you see which blade you have unlocked, then you can pick the driver that blade should go to. If the player would like to change the blade at any point in time to another driver, they can go to a certain area in the game, or a certain building, or a certain character, and pay in-game monies to blade swap. This, I think, would keep the currency in the game relevant. Lastly, as I said earlier, I am really looking forward to buying Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Since playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I've been invested much more in this franchise. I have to say, I did want Xenoblade Chronicles X though. I played this a little bit on the Wii U, and it would be interesting to get a new version of this game on the Nintendo Switch. If Xenoblade Chronicles 3 includes blades and you can bond with them, hopefully this system will change a little bit to make it a little more fun. So what do you think of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the core crystals feature being changed? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? How would you change it? Please leave your impression down in the comment section. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like our content, we have a few videos talking about games on the channel, mostly arcade and retro. If you'd like to watch these, please take a look. If you like our content and want to help the channel grow, please click that like, subscribe, and notification bell for more of our content in the future. And until then, thanks again.